think of it mostly around things that you'll need help with around your classes. But from an international student perspective, I'm going to be one of your main contacts with helping you with questions that the domestic student may not have. So I don't have the sense of how to predict things, but I can help you with how to navigate whatever has come up in that moment. So I often interact with the ISSS office for a student or with a student, with student health, and other offices around campus should you need that. We also have developed in this last year, or from a student government perspective, a new initiative to be a support to international students in a way that we haven't done before. And it's really been very enjoyable for me. Brooke is a part of it as well. It's called the International Student Care Gathering. And while we were in person, we were doing it once a month and serving food. I missed the food part a lot. But we're now doing it bi-weekly through the summer by Zoom as well. And we're continuing to invite recent alums as well. And this last meeting, we had an alum from 2017 join us and talk about his H-1B experience with the latest news. So we've been really, really happy to get that going. It's been really wonderful way to stay connected, both for us as staff, but for you as a student to know that at least a certain time period during the month or the week, every so often, you're going to have the opportunity to see your international colleagues that have a lot more understanding of some of the things that you're experiencing than maybe your domestic colleagues will. And so it'll give you a chance, whether you're in classes together or not, to at least see each other and to touch point with us and say, hey, I have this question. I don't really know who to ask. And those are things that we have enjoyed, really enjoyed connecting with students around. Yeah, is there anything else you can think of, Brooke? Let me know. I'll be happy to talk about. But we're just really happy to get to see your face this morning. And I can tell you that I have a lot of respect, admiration for the challenges that you are willing to take on in coming to do a professional master's degree somewhere else. And I think that it takes a high degree of accomplishment, discipline, and achievement goals. And I hope that you all sense for yourself what's right for you right now. Of course, we want you to be here, but you're going to be at a place that is a smaller climate. We're going to be doing stuff that we've never done it this way before. We're still trying to figure out what that looks like, but we are devoted to making it the best that we can. So let me know before I go if you have questions specifically for me.
Great. Thank you so much, Sherry. We appreciate it. Thanks for talking about the International Student Care Gathering too. I think if it helps you all, I've heard some other students say this, but in terms of thinking about what the different offices do between admissions recruiting, student programs, and then the Career Management Center, admissions and recruiting is mostly involved with helping students, helping you all come and get started at Owen. So that's why a lot of you have already interacted with Kim and other folks on the admissions recruiting side. Jerry, the office that Jerry's with, the student programs office, they work a lot kind of on the academic and student affairs side. So they're really involved with that part of your own experience. And then I'm with the Career Management Center, and the Career Management Center really focuses on helping you find internships and working with you as you pursue full-time jobs. So that kind of aspect of sort of sending you out, if that helps to think about things. Maybe before I say any more, two things. One, I hope it's okay. We started recording. There will be a point today where we stop recording. So if we have time, and if people have more individualized specific questions, we'll turn off the recording so that we have a chance to answer those questions that are more just focused on just one individual at a time. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. There are at least one person who couldn't make it, who wanted to be able to participate and kind of hear what happened. So just a heads up on And second off, I wanted to let Danielle introduce herself. We have a student from Peabody that's working with our office, and you'll have a chance to engage more with her. So Danielle, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Recco. Like Brooke said, I am a master's student at Vanderbilt's Peabody College of Education in their higher education administration program. But before that, I worked in risk underwriting roles in the insurance industry, and then worked briefly for an international education nonprofit before coming to Nashville last summer. So excited to work with the Career Management Center, and hopefully to get to know many of you.
Thanks for joining us, Danielle. I'll tell you just a little bit about myself, and then if you all don't mind, maybe since we don't have an enormous group here, maybe if we can have you all kind of go around and briefly just kind of mention your name, mention where you currently are, and if you want to talk at all a little bit about if you have ideas maybe of what you're kind of thinking. I'm interested in the career side, so if you're not held to this, but if you have ideas of what you might want to do career-wise for internships or post-MBA. And Kim, Jerry, and Danielle, if you think of anything else you want folks to share when we go around, feel free to pipe in on that. So my name is Brooke. I have been, I came to Nashville about 15 years ago, and I was a graduate student myself at Peabody, the School of Education side of Vanderbilt. It was a good experience. It was a lot of learning about the southern part of the U.S. because that was very new to me. I'm from more of the northern part of the U.S. in Wisconsin. Had a great experience there. Through that, my background before that was in teaching. Actually, something that I experienced I really had in life that I appreciated a lot was I just before coming to Peabody, I taught in Central America in Honduras for 2 years. I wish I could claim that I speak great Spanish. I don't. Kim speaks far better Spanish than I do, who has also spent time living in Honduras. But one thing I think that experience in life gave me was an appreciation for, just as I had a chance to interact there with people who worked at the embassy, people who work for non-governmental organizations, international business people. It gave me a really great appreciation for what it's like having that experience of living and working in another country. And for me, I learned so much from that period. I wish I could say it was the easiest, most fun, exciting time. Sometimes it was, but it was also a really hard time for me. But when I think about my own development, a lot happened in that period that I lived outside the US. And I hope that as you all get to interact with more people here and eventually come to the US, that you'll get even more of that experience. So I have been working at Vanderbilt for, I think it's 13 years. For 6 years, I worked at the Vanderbilt's Undergraduate Career Center, which was a great experience, working primarily with undergraduate students, but also a couple of grad students that report through that office. And then for the last 7 years, I've been at Owen, and for that full time, I've been working with international students and have learned so much from that experience, and really, really grateful for that. I'm also a father. Watch out if you ask a parent for pictures of the kids. There you go. Those are our two children in the middle. They're a little bit older now. They're 6 and 8. So they take a lot of time these days, and it's been interesting trying to play teacher for them while schools have been remote. So a lot of learning to do on that front. So that's a little bit about me. And then also I just saw Sambit. We have a rising second year student who was able to join us, which I appreciate because I asked him just yesterday and he took time to do that. Sambit, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sambit. I'm a rising second year, and I'm concentrating in finance and possibly strategy. And I'm from India, and I'll be beginning my internship with PwC on Monday. Nice to meet all of you.
Monday. I knew it was coming up soon. That's exciting. And your haircut looks good. I haven't seen you since you have the haircut. It looks great, Sambit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. Did I miss anybody in terms of Owen's staff? I think I got all the Owen staff for introductions. If you all don't mind, then why don't we go ahead and if maybe what we can do is, I think if I look at the participants list, it's got everybody listed alphabetically by first name. at least whatever you've entered as your first name. If it's all right, maybe we'll start there. And if you would, say your name. That's going to help me as I try to learn names. Please be patient. It will take time, but want to make sure we work on learning those. And yeah, if you would share where you are currently, if any of you are working and want to share a little bit about what you're doing. And then, like I said, from the career side, if you have ideas at this point of where you'd like to go, I'd love to hear about that. So anything else that you think might be helpful to do. So Abhimanyu, I think you're first on the list, and please correct me on your name.
It's correct. It's correct. It's Abhimanyu. So you're all right. I'm calling him from India. It's a city called, just type it out, Jaipur, just in case someone wants to Google it up. And yeah, so I've worked as a lawyer, but then for the past 2 years, I was working as a teacher for standardized tests, which was initially supposed to be just this short hiatus while I figured things out, maybe apply to a few law firms. But then I was really having a good time in the particular teaching profession, so I liked it. So I got to thinking that, how could I do something similar but on a more probably strategic or serious basis? And this is why I'm looking forward to doing picking the HOP concentration at Owen and probably do something.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. It looks like next, again, kind of going through the alphabetical list, I think that's Alejandro is next. Alejandro, do you mind going?
Hi, sorry, I was running a different meeting. I just got online. Sorry, I was late.
That's okay. Welcome. If you missed it, we're going around and briefly doing introductions. Name, where you are currently, if you're working, if you want to share about your work, and if you have ideas of what you want to do in terms of a career path post Owen.
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Alejandro Riza. I'm from Colombia, and I'm currently living in Colombia as well. My current job, I'm the director of financial planning and treasury of El Dorado, which is Bogota's largest airport and Latin American third largest airport. I'm currently still working, as you can imagine, with the aerospace industry. Everything is changing day by day. We're trying to negotiate with airlines. We're trying to negotiate with debt holders. So it's been interesting, kind of in a restructuring phase. In regards to my career path, I'm looking either to go into corporate finance or back to investment banking. I worked in investment banking for 2 years, so I would like to either go corporate finance or the investment banking route.
Great. Thank you and welcome.
Alejandro, could you turn your video on so we could see you?
Sure. Sorry, I don't know if the picture is good. A little bit.
Great,
Yes.
thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah.
All right. Next, Alekia, and please correct me if I'm off on your name.
Hi, Brooke. Hello, everyone. It's Alik here. I'm from Hyderabad, India. I currently work as a business development manager at a tech firm. I'm interested in consulting and product management as well. So I intend to pursue strategy and finance concentration.
Excellent.
That's about it.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'd love to see you too.
Yes, Kip.
To turn their videos on.
Yes, I've been trying to get that on, but I keep getting disconnected. So I thought I'd pause that.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks.
Sorry about that. Never fun when that happens. Ani, I believe you're next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. Well, I'm Ania Sanchez. You can call me Annie. I'm from Monterrey, Mexico, northeast of Mexico, pretty close to Texas. And I'm currently working at Mary Kay Cosmetics, so in the marketing department. So very girly, but also very interesting working there. And I'm thinking about concentrating marketing or strategy or something related to that, but I'm very open to try new things, and maybe I can just switch paths and, I don't know, find something different that I like.
Great. Thank you. All right, and next, I think Anshul, I believe you're next.
Hello, everyone. This is Anshul. I'm originally from India, but I'm presently in Chicago. I came to States for my undergraduate degree. So I went to Purdue and graduated as an electrical and computer engineer with a minor in economics. And presently, I work as a software developer. I work closely with various telecommunication companies to lead my team to create various B2B software applications. I'm a consultant by the industry, so I'm trying to look into industrial parts of finance and strategy, and looking forward to more international. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aravind, I believe you're next.
Hi everyone, I'm Aravind. I'm also from India, the state of Kerala. Currently, I work as a software developer in Tata Consultancy Services. I'm a technical lead for a product development team. At Owen, I intend to concentrate on marketing and possibly get a job on brand management or product management itself.
Great, thank you, appreciate it. All right, Harris, you're next. I'm sorry, I missed Chris. Chris Wu.
Hello. Okay, my name is Chris and I live in Beijing, China. I've been there for all my life and I currently work for Int'l company here as a product manager. And after I graduate from Owen, I plan to continue my career as a product manager in the internet company, or maybe I also interested in find opportunities in the venture capital area. Yeah, that is.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. All right, Harris, now your turn. Harris, I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
This has happened so many times before. My name is Harris. I'm from India. I'm basically from Kashmir, but I've been living in New Delhi since around 7-8 years now. I currently work for a company called Duff & Phelps. In fact, tomorrow is my last day at work. So I'm into valuations and investment banking. And after Owen, I want to pivot from investment banking to fixed income management. And I would be recruiting for investment management firms for my internship. Please let me know if there is anyone who is recruiting for investment banking or valuations. If there's any way I can help, I'll be glad to do so.
Appreciate your offering that. It's one of the things I love is how Owen students so often work together and help each other out on these things. Jin, I believe you're next.
Jen, are you able to turn your video on?
Sorry, I'm actually in office, so not so convenient, but I'm following your conversation. Thank you.
That's okay. Jin, do you mind briefly introducing yourself, sharing a little bit about where you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. Just a second.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. I'm Jin. I'm originally from China, but I immigrated to Europe. Now I'm working at the KPMG Luxembourg for financial services. I'm very happy. Look forward to join Owen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jin. Thanks for making time around work and being in the office. Let's see, Jorge Eduardo, do you mind going next?
Yes, hello to everyone. My name is Jorge. I'm from Guadalajara, Mexico. I am currently working in one of the biggest food companies here in Mexico, named Sigma Alimentos. I manage a small retailing company. And what I am looking for is to land a strategy position in a big consumers company and that's like my idea. But I think that I am still figuring out what I want to do.
Great, thank you. All right, Lena, I believe you're next. And you're ready at Owen, look at you.
Yes, I wish I was at Owen. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Svetlana, but I go by Lena. Currently, I'm in Princeton, New Jersey, but originally I'm from Bulgaria. My parents live in Spain at the moment for a very long time. I work as an architect, and actually today and tomorrow, I have to work on a RFP for Seton Hall University, which is a university in New Jersey. So we're doing a renovation, and I'm preparing the entire proposal for that. I'm looking forward to transition into potentially investment banking. If that doesn't work out, real estate finance or the real estate group of an investment bank. So anything that is related to the built environment, that would be my ideal path. And at Owen, yes, I'm planning on concentrating in finance, strategy, general management, and also doing an emphasis in real estate. And I wish I could come to campus as soon as possible, but there are obstacles for everyone at the moment. So yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you, Lena. Manuel, I think you're next.
Hello, everybody. My name is Manuel. I'm from Spain. I studied industrial engineering, and after that I went on to work for a Polish company in business development and sales. I covered the area of Spain and the Spanish-spoken countries in America. I was there for 3 years, and after that I've been working for a Spanish engineering company in Dominican Republic. I was in Punta Cana. I was in charge of sales and business development in the island. And you know, when I don't know yet what I will do after it, but I'm exploring different ways. And I think I will take the finance path, but I'm not sure yet.
Great, thank you very much. Rachel, please correct me if I'm off on saying that.
Oh no, it's Rachel. Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Rachel Fleury. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil. I was previously working at Gympass, which is a Brazilian unicorn here in São Paulo. I did a little bit of business development and a little bit of sales. It was actually a little bit of everything and a little bit of relationship management. Before that, I was in finance and banking. I actually studied finance in the US. I went to Bentley University for my undergraduate school. And I plan to focus on entrepreneurship and a little bit of strategy at Owen.
Wonderful. Thank you. Shushant.
Hi everyone, good morning, good evening. Hope you can hear me fine. So currently I'm in Bangalore. It's in the southern part of India, and it's raining here heavily, and I just enjoy monsoon. So I'm loving the weather here. I did my undergraduate in electronics engineering, and I've been working in the semiconductor industry for the past 4 years. Currently, I'm at Int'l serving my notice period. I work here as a product development engineer. So we are working on very cool technologies. And at Owen, I want to pivot to finance. So I'm interested in the buy side of the finance, but I would also try my hand at investment banking. So really looking forward to coming to Owen, and hope I could make it as soon as possible.
Same here. I hope all goes well with the rest of the monsoon season. All right, and Vedanti.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Vedanti and I'm from Ahmedabad, India. I work for a creative startup in Mumbai, and I work as their marketing manager. Right now I'm working remotely, so I'm back in my hometown. And yeah, I'm just excited to join Owen and pursue probably a finance concentration, maybe strategy, and try to recruit for investment banking.
There's a solid investment banking contingent here. I'm glad I know some of you already, like I said, sharing resources, working together on that. That's awesome. All right, did we miss anybody? I'm looking through, and I don't think we did, but please let me know if anybody joined and I missed it. All right. I think we got everyone. Great. All right. Briefly, you know what? I should, before we talk about kind of CPT and internship requirement, Jerry, today's your day off. Does anybody have any questions? Because I want Jerry to be able to enjoy her day off. Does anybody have any questions that specifically relate to the Student Programs Office or to Jerry that might be helpful to address at this point? Manuel, looks like you've got.
Sorry, the button didn't work. I may have a question for her. She told before that he can solve us questions related to the health. For example, I have a question regarding the insurance. In the Gallagher, I don't remember the name, center, it says that for international students, there is the possibility of a waiver if you are not going to be there for the full term. But my question is, we don't really know when are we going to arrive. So if we arrive, let's see, in October or in September, what do we have to do? We have to pay the insurance in August, or we have to wait and then we have another option of insurance? How that is going to be handled?
That's a really good question. And in fact, there's even another issue that if you were in typical times, if you were going to be here prior to classes, which you would if you were coming to orientation, you would even need to take another supplemental policy. So what I can tell you is that we will work on finding out, but we don't know exactly how that's going to work. So it's unclear to me still how the health center is going to handle those things, and I'm sure that Vanderbilt is working on figuring that out, but I don't know of any clear-cut answer to that yet. But we'll, please, if you don't hear from us on it, please keep tapping us, but we're just know that we're trying to find out too. But thanks for that question.
So Jerry, does that mean that they should put off on purchasing the insurance?
Well, if, for example, do any of you know that you for sure know that you're going to move to Nashville on August 1 and you're going to be here during the time period of orientation? The orientation would begin like August 3rd. Does anybody know for sure that they're going to do that?
Anybody that's not on the United States soil right now doesn't know, because the embassies are closed and nobody knows when they will open. So we don't know when can we get our visas.
That's what I understood. So with that, then we don't have to, if you're not going to be here prior to August 17th, for example, if you're not going to be on campus or, actively in Nashville, you wouldn't have to worry, for example, about the supplemental, because the supplemental portion is meant to be coverage for any programming that happens prior to the start of classes. For a typical, and this may include some of you, if you have a current US policy that would take you until the start of classes, you would also not need the supplemental insurance. So the supplemental insurance would be specifically for an international who would not have a US health policy prior to starting classes, and that's what that's meant to cover. But as far as getting to class starting August 17th, and the question from Manuel about do you need to start the policy if you're remote, that I don't know. So we'll have to keep tracking that down. I would imagine that they haven't decided yet, but I know that Kim and I will be checking on that.
I actually just checked on that yesterday, and you're correct. It hasn't been satisfied. It hasn't been decided yet. So the only two who might be here for the start of classes August 17th are Lena and Anshul, who are living in the US.
All right. Thank you for the question. Any other questions that especially relate to this?
Anybody else have other things?
Student Programs Office.
Yeah, I have a question about the transcripts we need to submit. I'm not sure if I need to ask that question to Jerry or someone else.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So actually, I graduated from Delhi University, and I cannot begin to tell you, probably not I won't be able to put into words what a long process it is to order transcripts from Delhi University. And I appreciate if it sounds a little unusual, but that is true. So since the lockdown, all the universities here are closed, and I don't think the offices in most of the universities are working at the moment. And there is going to be a potential delay in ordering the transcripts and mailing them to the university. And I understand, I think the deadline for submitting the transcripts is August or September, I'm not very sure. But can there be a potential delay for submitting the transcripts?
I'm going to ask Kim if she knows about that from an admission standpoint. You're on mute, Kim.
I would say the Office of the Registrar is very aware of that, and you won't be the only one having a delay. So we're assuming that you will be able to get us those once those offices reopen, but I anticipate most people will be in the same situation.
Awesome.
Sorry. Yeah. Just to add to that, I checked with the Office of Registrar and I was told the deadline would be in October.
For the second mod?
No, for submitting the transcripts and the degree, proof of degree.
I think, yeah, it was the same for us as well, that it was in October.
Okay. They typically tell us much earlier for mod 1, but it sounds like it's for mod 2 now. So
I think they're trying to obviously, allow for these kinds of things, but
yeah,
as you all know, don't let up on the pursuit of acquiring them. I also would just, once you get here, probably you will get a reach out. When I say get here, once you get into the mod, wherever you are, you'll probably get a reach out from the registrar's office, which, by the way, this is a side note. I know that you've probably got a number of emails going on, but be aware that you're going to be getting stuff on your Vanderbilt email that may not be from Owen, may be university-wide, and especially from offices like the registrar, from student health, from financial aid, from student accounts. Make sure that you're checking that. And I will just offer an upfront apology for maybe the bombardment of all of the emails that you may get there. But be aware that that's gonna be the primary method that the university is conveying to you information that maybe none of us know about. So it doesn't come to me. It may not come through Kim or Brooke. And so you're gonna be the one that needs to be aware of it. And we'll be here for questions or to help you figure out who to direct it to. But do be aware that that is an idiosyncrasy of being a professional school, that and as an undergrad, you just know that all of these offices are communicating with you. But for Owen, we have our own internal sort of support system that generally, we know everything about it. But for these university-based offices, we're not going to get that communication. So please be aware of that point. But back to the transcripts, I would assume that they will reach out to you at some point during mod 1 and just say, hey, we haven't gotten this yet. So please, I would just encourage you to keep track of communication points that you've made with your school and anything that you've gotten back from them that you can verify that you're working on it, that it's in progress. And to Kim's point, this is not new. You certainly won't be the first person or the first year that this would be a challenge. And I would just keep good records as you do in most things, and just be able to report what contact you've made and what you've heard back from your school.
Very good points. Thanks, Jerry. So yes, you will get the Vanderbilt University communications, and then from Owen, typically through Brightspace, where you'll be able to check your checklist.
Got it. Thank you. That's helpful.
Thanks for the question.
Any other questions for Jerry before she logs off and enjoys her time off?
I hope everybody's staying well wherever you are. We're really looking forward to having you. It's just wonderful to have global energy in our student classes, and just really have a high regard. Again, want to convey that to you, high regard and anticipation for the vision that you have to want to change your professional career and trajectory and pivot. And just look forward to being here with you as part of that process. But Brooke and I work, and Kim as well, but Brooke and I work closely throughout your journey here. We know you and look forward to getting started, knowing you better. So it's wonderful to connect with all of you today. I look forward to it for more of it.
Happy holidays, Jerry.
Thank you, Sambit.
Thank you.
Yes, we should mention that the 4th of July, our Independence Day, is Saturday. So the official holiday will be celebrated on Friday. So that means that none of us will be working on Friday.
Yeah, and typically it's a bank closure day and government offices closure day too. So
thanks for joining us, Jerry.
You can celebrate the 4th on our behalf now.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. We appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Brooke.
Absolutely. All right. What other questions do we have? I saw one other that came through the chat, so maybe we'll take that one and then be thinking if there are others. So the question was, just out of curiosity, is Owen looking to get the whole MBA STEM certified? Which is a great question. Was that a thumbs up, Jorge? It might not have been. It may have been. Oh yeah, you're like yes. From my standpoint, I would love that. I will tell you that it is not up to me, unfortunately, whether or not that happens. I'd be kind of interested to hear what Sambit says a little bit about this, because he was, I think, something. Step back a little bit. Something that I'm always impressed with is to see the advocacy that you all have had. Like, I know a number of you were helpful with the recent decision to, it was a big decision. And what happened behind the scenes is, I know some of you all, like Manuel was one of the people that I had contact with early on, who said, hey, I'm really concerned about the fact that when I would be getting to Owen, whenever that is, I'm not sure when that is, that I may not be able to take advantage of CPT. Because to use this CPT work authorization that would allow me to work, over the summer, typically the way that things are set up currently under Vanderbilt's International Student Scholar Services Office, you need to be in the US in F1 status for 9 months before you can use CPT. And if I'm not there, how is that going to work? So I know a couple of you kind of raised that as an issue, and I'm glad that you did. What happened behind the scenes was, there are a couple of staff that ended up kind of working on that and trying to make the importance of that issue known to faculty. In the past couple of weeks, there are actually a couple of different faculty votes on that. And as of last Friday, I believe it was a full faculty listened to Emily Anderson, our director, who kind of presented on this issue, presented on its importance to them. And then through that, the full faculty, usually it doesn't happen to go to full faculty. Usually it's decided through a curriculum committee, which is some of how it happened last time when the operations analytics concentration was made STEM certified. But in this situation, it ended up going to a full faculty decision, and the faculty voted. It sounded like it was a pretty overwhelming number of them. But yes, we need to change things so that all Owen MBAs, starting with your class, will have an internship requirement. And the benefit of that is that will allow you all to be able to start your CPT earlier on without that required 9 months. So that's some of the process. I don't know how much you wanted to hear about the politics of what happened there, but that's kind of what happened. Similarly, when things have become STEM certified, because a lot of that is sort of a curriculum issue, it does have to go through faculty, and there are specific faculty curriculum committees, and that's how that happens. So to my knowledge at this point, I know there's some interest on, certainly from some students, on having either more concentration STEM certified, or I know some universities have gone the route of having a, how would I put it, sort of an optional certification that is STEM certified that you could add on to almost any degree. I know we kind of batted around the idea of, I've talked with some staff about the idea of maybe, for example, having an analytics certification, for example, that could be added into a lot of different concentrations as another way to get sort of the same kind of thing. To be honest, I think what will come up with a lot of that is the interest of faculty, and really from what I've seen with a lot of these decisions, if there are students that are kind of helping to make that happen, that plays a key part. So like I said, that's probably not the most black and white answer, but I hope that gives you some perspective on that. Sambit, do you want to say anything more on this?
I could. So it's a great question. I think people at Owen have been thinking about it for a long time. And having worked with Brooke and faculty and staff to get the operations concentration STEM certified, my personal opinion is that it's kind of better that we don't have a blanket certification. And the reason I say that is because now the OPT process and the subsequent H-1B process is very tedious, and it goes through a lot of oversight, a lot of requests for evidence. And so long story short, I mean, like when you pick up a job in a certain function, it has to be tied to your degree. And if you're just like having a blanket certification, there is a possibility that it may get rejected. So therefore, it's really challenging to push the idea of getting a blanket certification. I hope that helps.
And I'm glad you brought up a really good point, which is, I think, and I will, let me step back again. It's been really interesting to see how this has changed over the past few years, because what Sambit is talking about are under the current administration, the White House, there have been pushes to make a lot more requests for evidence on OPT and OPT STEM. And there's been a lot more, I mean, there's been talks of people on OPT STEM where there are officers from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services coming and visiting the corporation where someone is doing their STEM OPT to kind of check and make sure everything is above board and legitimate. Having done this a while, apart from the current administration, that's not something I've seen. But under the current administration, there certainly is a lot of need to be very careful and to be able to, what would happen if there's that RFE, that request for evidence to your employer? It's a lot of work for you and for your employer to basically defend your role and why your role relates to the degree you have, and why, if it's STEM OPT, why your role relates to that, the STEM. And it can take some time and effort to defend that. So it is something not to be taken lightly. I will say there is an aspect of that, of course. You know, this November is election time for the executive office, for the executive branch. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because that could change things quite a bit. So, yeah.
Brooke, can I just add something? Sorry. Sambit, go ahead.
I was just saying that, I mean, like, just my kind of summary was that the more specific things are with this administration, the better it is for everyone involved. And it's so getting an RFE on anything means that it's going to be almost 2 times the cost for your employer in terms of legal fees and documentation and all the other stuff that follows with that. So it's really trying to make things more efficient and more like cost effective for everybody involved.
Hi.
Yes.
I just wanted to share my experience because I actually went through the H-1B visa. So I was first sponsored in 2015, and I believe in 2018 when I had to renew, because every 3 years you have to renew your work visa. In 2018, we received this RFE, which was the most outrageous RFE ever, which was questioning where I was pretty much qualifying for my job as an architectural designer, considering I already have a bachelor's of science in architecture and a master of architecture. And I've done so many courses. And anyways, we had to prepare, I believe, 1,200 page RFE document, which was a few month long process of collecting the information. And that took an additional person in our office to prepare all that information. So that is during the Trump administration. Before that, no such RFEs. But yes, I just wanted to share that you have to be very specific with the job matching, the degree, or I'm not sure how exactly it works with an MBA, but because I have an architecture degree, they even questioned whether my architecture degree was enough for my position. So it's a very intense project. It's a very intense process, the whole H-1B process at the moment, and we did get that RFE. So I had to seek the help of a congresswoman, and she was able to kind of explain, and then we had to also pay outrageous amount of money, which my employer had to incur because it's against the wall for me to pay for all this. But anyways, just wanted to share the experience that it's totally brutal at the moment. But before the Trump administration, it was a very easy process, actually. I did not have any RFE during my first years in an H-1B, but afterwards and right now that I'm going through the whole adjusting to a US permanent resident status, it's even more intense. It's not 1,000 pages, but we had to send 600 pages of information. So the journey just starts for everyone but hopefully things will change in November. I sincerely hope for everyone, because being an international student is very tough in the US. And I've been through the OPT, not the CPT, but just the OPT process. It's so stressful. And I believe that we're the big disadvantage, because I don't think we are able to achieve our full potential. We're so limited on the jobs we're able to explore and everything. So I hope that, and the current administration is not helping, but I hope sincerely for everyone that things will change in November. It will be much, much easier. The effect that things will go back to normal might take a few months, maybe years. But anyways, just wanted to share my experience that it's very tough.
Thank you for sharing that, Lena. And I appreciate that. I think, one of the benefits of the Owen class size is a chance for, I see this amongst our international students, I see this amongst all of our students, but just a chance to share and learn from what one another have experienced.
Yeah, if anyone has questions about the H-1B or and all the other stages afterwards, I am keeping all my documentations. I have all my forms. I know all the classifications that you're supposed to go through. Pretty much I've become an expert. Like, I could totally go and get a law degree at the moment, immigration law. That's my next specialty. So I know everything about that.
That's great.
But I'll do it for free. So
thanks.
We offer a dual degree in law.
I'm sorry, Kim?
Offer a dual degree, MBA, JD for law.
Yeah, I'm going to be a lifer student. This is actually, yeah. I was considering a dual degree with a public policy because I do have an interest in politics, and that's my actually long-term goal. But no, I'm not going to be a forever student for sure. An MBA, and that's it.
something.
We can this is Jin. Can I ask a question?
Jin, you have a question? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the information for the procedures. Now I have two questions. First is, are we allowed to do part-time work when we study at Owen?
Let's see. You would be able to do part-time work if you're using CPT. So yeah, that would be a possibility. I mean, something I would say, this relates back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier with the internship requirement.
Yeah.
If anyone is planning to Sambit, I'd be interested to hear your take on this. If anyone is planning to do recruiting, if you're not corporate sponsored or not planning to work to find a job at Owen after your MBA degree, I would really encourage you to spend Mod 1 and Mod 2 focusing on classes and on your job search. I think it could be really difficult, and this is something we advise to international students, domestic students across the board. There is so much that happens in Mod 1 and Mod 2, and part of that is so much time is spent recruiting that I think if one was doing part-time work, I guess, Sambit, you did some part-time work on campus with a library, but I mean, we're talking a couple hours a week, and I think you're probably able to do some studying and things like that while you're doing that work, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But all of that to say,
Okay.
I would really avoid kind of doing outside work at the start of things, because you really want to focus on recruiting so you don't miss that. Because I mean, I just see lots of students who miss good opportunities because they're having a hard time with classes, let alone internships or jobs. I will say after recruiting is done, after you'd find an internship or something like that, that could be a great opportunity. That's something that another benefit of where we're going with this new change of the internship requirement is that you all, like Sambit's class didn't have this, but you all would have the option to do in part-time internship during Mod 3 or Mod 4. So that is a really good opportunity. And of course, you have opportunities to do that during your second year as well, which is something that has existed for a while. Sambit, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, and for the
Sorry. Oh,
sorry.
Let's have Sambit finish on that, and then we'll come back to your other question if that's okay.
So at a very high level, like the first question would be, what is the nature of the part-time work that you are asking about? So if it's like university driven work, like anything on university, I think on the F1 visa, you're allowed to work 20 hours per week. And that's not really counted as work. That's like just university related stuff. I think Vandy has a cap at 19 just to be really conservative. So anything on university, and there's a website for finding campus jobs. So that doesn't really qualify as part-time. Outside of the university, it's a very complicated question. So what the easy ones that come to mind that you definitely cannot do are Uber or daytime jobs at a restaurant or anything. So it has to be related to your field of study. And traditionally, I think even before this administration, there was this 9-month cap, which used to ensure that students would come in and be on the F1 visa for 9 months, get trained in their degree before they even venture out into the job market. So and there are more complicated situations which ISSS kind of is the gatekeeper for that, because that has to go through CPT, and they really scrutinize it very conservatively and very strongly so that you don't get into trouble in the future. And it's again very good because like having known people who have been on F1 visas and then gone through the entire process, it's always like really, really good to be conservative, to be safe, irrespective of the regime that's or the politics. So yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Can I just add something about the work experience while you're a student on campus? Because I actually had this opportunity, and they are very, as Sambit was mentioning, as they're scrutinizing, because in the form I-20, the international office is supposed to put the name and the location of your position. So they're looking if that position is on campus, and really the only opportunity for you to work during school is on campus. And I personally have been detained at an airport during my undergrad, even though I was teaching math. They detained me to ask me additional questions. Where was I teaching? If I was actually private tutoring in somebody's house, like, because it said math tutor, but that didn't specify exactly the location. And so I was detained in handcuffs during my undergrad. So I just wanted to share that they look at everything, every single detail, immigration services, and it can happen at any point when you're entering the country as well. But I'm not sure if that was your question. I just wanted to kind of mention that they know everything about you pretty much, the immigration services.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Lena. Other questions?
I'm okay because they actually answered most of the points now. And for the career service and for the internship, what is the time frame for us to work on? I mean, for the searching.
Yeah, that's a good question. The short answer is it depends. A longer answer is it depends based on the job function that you are planning to pursue. There's sort of earlier timeframes for recruiting. So for example, human organizational performance would be one of the earliest. For internships, interviewing has usually happened as early as, some of it can happen earlier, but most of it usually happens during the month of October. Next earliest would be financial services recruiting. The peak time for financial services recruiting for interviews, internship interviews, is typically the months of November and December. That can include, investment banking, private wealth, things like that. There are some earlier recruiting events that happen, the national career fairs that happen. Students that are interested in things like marketing would especially want to think about participating in those, although there is some corporate finance recruiting that happens through those events. Those events typically happen in September and October. So there are some things that happen earlier, although it's usually a pretty small percentage of students who find offers through that, but it's still a great opportunity to practice telling your story and interacting with recruiters. And then sort of the most typical timeline, which would be consulting, operations, corporate finance. The single busiest month for interviews there would be the month of January. Again, there are some that happen before and after that. So what I would do if I were you, Jin, would be, and for any of you, I would watch the function-specific webinars that we're doing. Like we were talking earlier about the finance one. And in that, I put up the timeline and you can see the numbers. We're also going to have those that have already happened. We're going to be posting them on our Brightspace page, CareerSpace, so that you can see the ones that have already happened. But they're coming up. I think the next one is Tuesday the 7th. I believe there's a kind of overview one, and then we resume the function specific ones the following Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I know we're a little past 9 o'clock, so if anybody needs to hop off, feel free to, because I know we're going over. I have at least a little bit more time. I can stick around, though, answering other questions. Are there other questions that folks have?
Yeah, Brooks, sorry, I just had a recruiting question. I mean, at some point I was going to ask you this question, but so I know for majority of the companies, different industries, there will be on-campus recruiting. And I know that at this point you don't know how this process is going to go as far as who's coming on campus and if this will be virtual or not. But my concern is actually if we're not able to arrive for the November timeline of on-campus. I kind of asked you this question before, but we will have the opportunity to connect with the recruiters for Owen.
I
Hello?
It was frozen.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I apologize. Lena, partway through your question, I started cutting out. I'm going to turn off my video for a little while just to see if that helps with bandwidth. Could you summarize your question for me again? Because I missed it.
We will have the opportunity to connect with on-campus recruiters at Owen, even if we're virtually recruiting and we're away from Owen. That's my question.
Yes, you will.
I know you probably don't know the answer, but
I know it's gonna look different. I know it's obviously, I mean, the vast majority of employers at this point are, my understanding is the majority of employers are planning to not do the typical on-campus recruiting. There's a number of reasons that would be challenging this year. We are still figuring out exactly what that looks like. We're looking at different ways that could happen virtually. My sense though, I mean, what we do know that there are companies that are still recruiting. So for example, next week, there is an event that we're doing with a couple of other schools for graduating students, students who graduated in this summer. And we have nearly 30 employers that are interested in engaging on that virtual career fair. So to me, the fact that there are a lot of employers who want to be involved is certainly a good thing. I'm glad to know that. But again, yeah, the way that it's happening does look a little bit different. And so some of that is up in the air. One of the things the CMC is doing is we're going to be doing some check-ins. I think we have one with your class and incoming students. I believe it's coming up in early August. It might be worked into some of orientation even, where we talk, or it could be end of July, where we talk a little bit more about what recruiting looks like for this year. So that part is a little bit up in the air, but we know that employers are still interested in hiring. We know that even if there is a bit of an economic downturn, or if what we're seeing at present is continuing, I mean, having worked through some recessions, companies still hire. They may hire less people. They might hire a little bit less frequently, but there is still a need for candidates. So I hope that gives you some sense of what we're seeing and thinking on that.
yeah, I know the uncertainty applies to everyone. The recruiters themselves are not aware what is going to happen as well. I've connected with some of them through Forte, and they don't even know how things will go in October. So it's a challenge for everyone, I suppose. Just a final question. Oh, go ahead, Vedanti.
Yeah, it's not related, and it's so I basically want to understand that considering the global opportunities that might be suffering due to the current scenario, it's probably a bit in the future, but then are there any steps that Owen is specifically taking to ensure that the global learning is still in place, not just in the classroom, but then say a replacement for events like for projects like the Project Pyramid and those sort of experiences?
That's an excellent question. I am not sure what that looks like at present, but you're right. I mean, I know you're thinking of things like Project Pyramid, a lot of the events the Turner Family Center does. There's one class that usually takes every other year takes a group to China, business in China, with Professor Friedman. Professor Cohen often takes students to Israel. To be honest, I'm really not sure what that looks like. I bet some of those, if you ask some of those professors I mentioned or some of the offices they mentioned, they may have thoughts on that. Samit, I know you're involved some with the Turner Family Center. Do you have any other thoughts or insight on that?
I'm really glad that Project Pyramid is well known, because I'm the chair for Project Pyramid next year. So just specific to Project Pyramid, we have been operating on the communication from the university and also on the so the latest communication is that we're going to resume normal service in mod 3, and we are expected to travel. So that's our assumption right now, and we are working towards having projects lined up that would involve travel. We also have some backups for, like, in case we can't travel globally. So we also have some leads and some projects lined up for domestic work. So I think the university is just trying to be flexible, and I mean, it's all about the student experience. So we're trying our best to really help all students get the best of the circumstances.
And if I might add, luckily, a lot of those international trips are between mod 3 and 4, rather than in the fall. In the fall, we typically have a Latin Business Association led trip somewhere in Latin America over the fall break. So of course that won't be happening this year, but the rest tend to be between mod 3 and mod 4. So that's the
Hey, Brooke, I have a related question about the recent proclamation. So given the companies which usually sponsor students coming out of Owen, have you heard anything from them? What's their reaction about the recent proclamation, and whether they're going to continue sponsoring students going forward or not?
That's a great question. The short answer, no. No, we have not heard yet specifically from employers about this. I mean, I certainly have heard just last 2 days I've had a chance to hear some immigration lawyers talk on the subject. And they didn't, I mean, obviously they're kind of sharing their perspective on things. The good news is it seems like in a lot of ways you all will probably not be as affected by things, which is a silver lining. Downside, bad news is that the way that the executive order is set up, that there are certainly chances that it could have some effect in the future. There's kind of a clause built in where the executive office may decide to add, White House may decide to add some to the executive order, just as they kind of did. I mean, there've been at least 3 that have related specifically to immigration in the past couple of months.
Yeah.
We have yet to hear any employers react. My guess is what's happening is, just as I'm seeing a lot of immigration lawyers kind of think this through and hash this through, what does this mean? I'm betting at a lot of large corporations, they're kind of talking with their internal counsel or anybody that they kind of outsource this kind of immigration work with, probably trying to think about what this means and see how it goes from there. Also, because there is a lot in flux, because elections in November could change things, that certainly adds some uncertainty to it as well. So yeah, so we have yet to hear any employers addressing this specifically. Hopefully we'll know more about that in a little while. My sense is that, at least for you all, that there is a chance that administrations could change. And if that's the case, then it may have minimal, if any, effect on you all.
So
thank you.
Brooke, could I also give
Please.
a couple of details?
Yes.
So I think one of the biggest challenges facing employers right now is that they themselves don't know the extent of the implications because of the complicated nature of the H-1B itself. And there are a lot of subclauses that are there, and like how they interact with this executive order is not really known. So, I mean, there are people who have graduated and had their names picked up in the lottery, and the employers were pretty happy. Everyone was happy with that, but again, no one really knows how this executive order is interacting with all of that. So my information is that we'll have to wait till the end of the executive order to really understand what happens next. I mean, till then, it's like going to be a lot of legal back and forth.
Yeah. Is there any way we can have a green card stapled to our degrees?
That's a good one. That's also very complicated. So
Oh,
Yeah.
there are possibilities, but yeah, possibilities and probabilities.
okay.
I'm going through the process of green card at the moment, and it's I'm in my third year after my H-1B. Actually, what happens is the general recommendation is that you're hired as an H-1B first, and then you kind of negotiate with your employer. Hey, I'm also interested in H-1B in a green card. So if he agrees, he can sponsor you for the green card. Usually, people kind of advise you to do that in your second year, so that the employer gets to know you, that you are a long-term employee for them, and you'll be here on a permanent basis and such. But it's very tough process for the green card, and specifically if you are from countries such as India and China, I believe Philippines and Mexico. These 4 countries are considered countries that have a lot of candidates for the green card. So I'm following all the something called priority days at the moment, and the wait times are more than 10 years if you'd like to get the green card. For the different categories, there are 3 different categories. So if you are coming from Owen with an MBA, you will be considered in the EB2 category, which is advanced professionals, people with advanced degrees and such. But the whole process of getting a green card after the H-1B, it's tough. It's 5-6 years after graduation that you're looking at. So to answer your question, if you can kind of staple your degree directly to the green card, I'm not sure if that's,
I was just
that's a
kidding.
little ambitious. That's very ambitious.
So I would just like, just to call out, I think, so one person, like one of the companies I spoke to who was like really forthcoming about green cards, and this is like good news for Shashank, I guess, is Micron, I guess, I think it's called. They're a semiconductor company, and their strategy for their stated strategy for attracting the best talent is to offer green cards on the first day.
Yeah.
So do they recruit for MBA?
Yes, and we've got alums there.
All right.
So an alum
I got
only
few
told,
friends there.
yeah, so an alum told me this, and he was like, you should apply. And I was like, yes, I will. So that's like, so there are companies that do this. eBay, I think, also does it. So, because I know one of my friends who got through the process, but like the green card is like I would just say that don't get ahead of yourselves. Like, I love Brooks' presentation when he makes it on the first day with the curve. It's coming. There'll be a huge up, and then there'll be a huge down, and then there'll be a huge up again. And it's a process. It's a process. Take things one step at a time. A lot of I think, like, so my 2 cents of wisdom looking back and having friends at other business schools is that I was really fortunate to come to Owen. Like, it was just like a chance out of the blue that I am here. And the biggest advantage that you get at Owen is that we begin early. I think it's like super understated, super undervalued, especially in recruiting, that we begin early. And I mean, the timelines on career space are very, very generous and flexible. So I would say that if you're able to be ahead of that curve, you will be ahead of everybody else in the job market. And I say this knowing people at much bigger cohorts at Wharton, at Ross, who still don't have internships lined up. And they've said that, man, you started early and yeah, and it's a process. You have to go through that process because you are in a new country and a new culture. Not only like people around you, like work culture, right? Interaction, communication. And the only way you really learn is by interacting and communicating, networking. And so like it's a process. Everything will happen, and everybody has had great stuff happen to them at Owen. Like even recently, when things were going down because of COVID and offers were rescinded, new offers came up, and it was really good. So everything will work out if you're just keeping up with the timeline, if you're making efforts from your side. And yeah, there will be a lot of ups and downs.
It's a very long and frustrating journey, but if you're patient and hardworking and you believe that you're working hard, it should work out in the end. But to answer your question about Owen, I also wanted to share the same experience that first of all, I read an article in Ports and Quants, which was talking about the strength of the employment report that Owen has had in the recent years. And I think Emily Anderson mentioned that part of the reason why Owen has had a strong employment for the students is because they start early. And observing how the two Forte conferences went, I can totally relate. We had a very strong cohort of women. We had 42 women representing Owen at the Forte conference.
Wow.
And yes, and there were schools which had 10 much bigger schools, like double the size of schools. So we were on par as far as number goes with schools that were 300, 400 students. And starting as early to me speaks a lot about how much everyone is doing for us. The admissions team, as well as the Career Services Center and everyone else involved in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Well, I see we are coming up on an hour and a half, and I know some of you all, it is very late there. So I think what we'll go ahead and do is, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I'm going to